Hey, Johnny Roberts, welcome back to another great episode of your podcast. How are you today, sir?
Doing good, Michael. How are you?
Unbelievable. It is a phenomenal day here. I'm having a great day, feel very healthy, very blessed to be here. And I know you're enjoying life. You're down in like Florida right now, right?
Man, we are too blessed to be stressed. We're actually on Sanibel Island in Florida. It's a place we love to come to. I've been coming here since I was a kid. My grandparents kind of set up a family thing down here. So we're excited because this is the first year. Obviously, there was a huge hurricane, wiped out the island a couple years ago. So the place we come to finally reopened. So we're able to enjoy time with our family for the next couple weeks down here. And so excited to be here and kind of, a lot of stuff is still devastated, but we're back here trying to support
Yeah.
the businesses and enjoy the beach and enjoy family time down here. So
That's great. Well, I know it's exciting to be down there, but maybe, just maybe, what's more exciting than being down on Sanibel Island is being on this podcast with like America's tax expert, Heather Schreiber. I mean, I think maybe that might be a little
I
bit
don't
more
think so.
exciting.
I don't think so, but we can say it is. We can say it is because
Okay.
I would rather be down at Sanibel Island. Just saying.
Well,
Rather
yeah,
than
maybe we
think
could
of
do this
myself.
from the beach next time. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, I think I think we should. I think we should.
So, Johnny, we are in the middle of a four-part miniseries. This is episode 2, where you and Heather are really unpacking the tax impacts for retirement. And today we're talking about the difference really between the two types of IRAs. I'm going to let you unpack it because you're obviously an expert at it. Let you and Heather take this conversation where it needs to go.
yeah, so we kind of talked a little bit, introduced Heather last week in our series here. She went into a little bit about, or actually a lot about the traditional IRA, just some of the tax situations of that, some of the advantages of, the positive part early on, the tax deductions. And we're going to talk a little bit today about that once again versus a concept called the Roth IRA. And so, once again, tax complications, tax advantages of both situations, kind of where we are as we dive into this series of the next couple of weeks to help people understand, hey, I've got options. Heather said also something great last week. It's about diversification, maybe. And a lot of people aren't maybe necessarily there, but there's hope to be able to get there, which is what we try to do with New Heights Financial, is help people maybe get diversified and plan a little bit better along those lines. So Heather, kind of pick up where you left off last week. We were talking about traditional IRAs, and share a little bit now what you wanted to talk about, continuing off that and going into the Roth concept along those lines.
Yeah, it's kind of like the idea of, I kind of want it now. We're kind of in that age, right? I want things now. I'm an instant gratification girl most of the time. My family will tell you that, give them 10 amount. But the Roth IRA is kind of like, okay, if I hold out till later, this could be a really good gig. That's kind of how I look at the traditional versus the Roth model. So, and we tend to want what we want now. So the traditional IRA we talked about last episode is, what's the benefit of that? If you're eligible, you can take a deduction for your contribution. So if I make a $7,000 contribution, I can deduct that and not pay taxes on it now. That's the upfront, give it to instant gratification of that, right? I'm paying lower taxes because I'm able to reduce my taxable income by that. The potential downside, now it's not necessarily a potential downside. It just depends on whether or not you think your taxes will be higher or lower in retirement, right? So eventually you let that grow tax deferred. Both Roth and traditional IRA, they grow tax deferred. And eventually, though, a traditional IRA, you are subject to lifetime required minimum distributions. So eventually the IRS says, hand it out, get it out to us, right? That used to be 70 and a half. It was 72 for a hot minute. Then Secure 2.0 changed it to 73 and up to 75. We're sort of kicking this can down the road. And the idea is people are living longer, people are working longer. And so they need more time really to make their income last. So they're saying, hey, you don't have to start taking required distributions until much later. If you're born in 1960 or later, you can even wait to as late as 75. But eventually we want your money to come out. Why? We're the government and we need your tax money. Thank you very much. So that's a traditional model. Well, the Roth IRA is the exact opposite. It's saying, if you can wait, we promise beautiful benefits later if you do something called a qualified distribution. And I think we're going to get more into that. And you might want to take a nap after I talk to you in the third segment. I don't know. I tend to do that to people. But the idea of a Roth is you make that same $7,000 contribution. And incidentally, people ask me often, can I make 7,000 here on the deductible traditional IRA side? And can I also do 7,000 in the same year for the Roth? No, they're not that nice. It is one total. So you can do a little bit here and a little bit in there, but you have to have a total only of the 7,000, or if you're 50 or older, 8,000. Okay. But you can't do twice the amount. Okay. So that's that. But in the Roth model, you're not taking an upfront deduction. Okay. You're making that $7,000 contribution. You're not deducting it from your tax return for the year. But what happens? It grows tax deferred, right? So there's gain that's growing. There's inside gain going on. You're not paying taxes on it. And if in the future you meet what's called a you meet certain credentials, which this 5-year thing, which people get often confused about often, which I'll clear that up in the next segment. But if you have a qualifying event, 5 years and a qualifying event, guess what? All that tax deferred growth that you never paid taxes on is tax free. What does that lead to? Well, in the first segment, we talked about it's not what you save, but what you keep in retirement. You're going to keep all of it. You don't have to worry about being in bed with Uncle Sam in retirement, because now if you meet those criteria, you're going to get all of that money, all that tax deferred growth, plus what you contributed back tax free. So it takes some of that unpredictability of that risk in retirement, because we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know if our taxes are going to be higher or lower in retirement. We presume that they will be lower because we don't have the earned income, but we don't know. That's legislative risk. That's one of the risks in retirement, right? That we don't have control of. We're not Congress. We're not the ones making the rules. And so we don't know what will happen. We do see what the economy is doing. We do see the amount of the national debt. We do see that most of the time when we get in a pickle, that's what they do. They raise taxes. So, and quite frankly, we're in one of the lowest we're in the lowest tax rate environment that we've been in years. I mean, there has been tax situations over the last 100 years that have been 90%, if you can believe it or not. So we're like, taxes are on major sale right now. Yeah. So it kind of lends me to believe that you got to be careful about the assumption that you will be in a lower tax bracket in retirement. So for that reason, a Roth IRA can be very attractive if someone is concerned about, what I need to have in retirement in terms of income and what I keep. I want to have not only the predictability of this income, but also I want to take the concern or the risk of how much taxes will be in retirement.
It's really interesting because, Heather, you mentioned in the last episode, you mentioned this one about how much you keep. It's that net paycheck that you get, because when pension plan, personal pension plan, whatever, in retirement, you get some money, but if Uncle Sam's taking some of that money away from you before you can spend it, right? I had a friend of mine, his son got his first job, right? And he's like, oh, I'm making all this money. And he got his paycheck and he's like, where did it all go?
Right.
And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen to a lot of people in retirement unless they plan properly and understand all of these little pieces that you're talking about. So I just wanted to throw it in there that you keep talking about the net income that you're going to get in retirement. That's really, really what you need to be focusing on. And that can happen with a traditional or a Roth IRA. It's not, it depends on your current situation and what's unique about you. And that's where Johnny and his team really come to bear. So just wanted to inject that.
And there's 3 things you said, Heather, that I think are awesome. First of all, the waiting. It's just like this. Today, we can go get fast food because we want that instant gratification, but it's definitely more healthy to stay at home and cook. Right. But we want that instant gratification. So you're so true about that. Financially, it's the same way. Second of all, if you have $100,000 in a traditional IRA or $100,000 in a Roth IRA, what's more valuable, Heather?
Right.
The Roth IRA. That's really worth $100,000.
That's right. Because it's 100,000 is going to go to you, assuming you have met the criteria.
Exactly.
Right. And you're using it.
And the other thing too is, like you said, what tax bracket am I going to be at when I'm older? Well, the thing is, people have to have more income when they're older than they used to with inflation and everything. You can't live off of $30,000, $40,000 a year and live in retirement for most folks anymore. You've got to bring in, we're seeing people that have to have income of $60,000, $70,000, $75,000 during retirement to be able to live with inflation now. So those are tax brackets that are higher than what they were thinking they were going to be at.
Well, and they're also not thinking, you think, oh, well, I'm going to be, I'm going to have less, I'm not going to be doing as much. I won't need as much income, but the types of spending changes, right? What is one of the
Absolutely.
biggest spending in retirement is healthcare, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
and what's not covered. I mean, long-term care isn't covered. So you have to think about the expenses and that shift in retirement. And yes, the inflation. And yes, the cost of the rising healthcare cost is huge. I mean, it's 2.5% or 2.5 times the regular inflation rate. So those are the things that people don't think about and don't add into when they're thinking, how much do I need to sustain, you know, my spending in retirement. And people also tend to think they're going to live less than they actually do. That's the other thing I find. They think, oh, I'm not going to live as long as I think I am. And that's a fallacy. We're seeing people live longer. And so it really is something you have to think about each asset, how long it's going to last, what type of asset it is, if it's taxable or not in retirement. All of that goes into building a retirement plan, starting with Social Security as the foundation and then building on it.
But you also are a phenomenal expert on Social Security, folks. I didn't even talk to anybody about that yet, but she is just Social Security. She's answered amazing questions on that. But along those lines, if a couple's making $50,000 on Social Security and they have a traditional IRA and they have to draw out $25,000 a year, how's that $25,000 taxed, Heather?
Well, so if
Just
it's coming out of traditional, right? If it's coming out of a traditional IRA, then it is going to subject their Social Security. It has a ripple effect because there's something called provisional income. When you're figuring out Social Security and how much of Social Security is taxable, what you use to supplement your income beyond Social Security absolutely can have a ripple effect on how much of your Social Security you keep, believe it or not.
exactly.
Provisional income or combined income, it's also called, is a function of 50% of your Social Security benefits plus your AGI plus tax exempt interest. So in that example, 50,000, we have to use 25,000 of it. Half of it goes into that formula, plus the other 25,000. If that's a traditional IRA, then you've got a provisional income of 50,000, right? Once your income goes above 32,000 or your combined income goes above 32,000 as a married couple, you're already looking at a portion of your Social Security being taxable as much as 50%. Switch that. If that 25,000 had instead been Roth or even less of it, traditional IRA, it would have been 0%. The Social Security would have been tax-free. That's why you have to look at all of the sources of income that you're using to supplement Social Security, because it does have a ripple effect. That's where you get that tax torpedo or stealth taxes, those types of things you hear about.
Wow.
So many people we run into, Heather, have that is the secret sauce that they don't see underneath the burger, right? They're like, what is that spicy sauce underneath? Well, it's hidden underneath the meat. And that's that Social Security underlying tax that kind of gets you, that you don't understand, hits you out of nowhere, right?
Yep.
And yeah, we've had people, I took out $30,000 to buy a car cash out of my, this year. I took out $40,000 out of my IRA to put on a new roof. And without the proper planning, over a few years of doing that, it can burn you on your Social Security taxes too. And people don't realize the
Absolutely. I have no
implications.
idea that federal
Yeah.
income taxes come into play.
So, but as we close out the bottom of this episode, the good thing is Heather provides hope. There's hope through planning, through options, which we'll get into in the last couple episodes of the series. Isn't there, Heather? If you're dealing with a
Absolutely.
traditional IRA, there's things that are out there that we can help do and help people be able to diversify some of that.
That's right. It's not doom and gloom, and don't take it as that. It's just a matter of, don't wait. Don't plan until you're getting ready to turn on Social Security or getting ready to, hang up your work cleats and go to Social Security. Try to, do the sooner the better, because there are strategies that you can employ to put you in a better financial position. If you've saved, great, because some people haven't saved at all. So you're already winning. But doing the pre-planning to kind of look out beyond where you are now and to say, okay, how does this look from a tax standpoint? It matters. And there are strategies that you can use to help soften the blow or mitigate some of those risks in retirement that you may not be thinking about, the tax risks, the longevity risk, the sequence of return. There's a lot of risks to think about, and we don't want to think about it, but we need to. And the sooner we do, the better.
Absolutely.
Wow. You two are like brilliant. I've been sitting over here just taking copious notes and asking questions, going, there is so much I don't know about all this that I'm glad you do. And that's why I encourage our audience just to reach out to Johnny, because this thing is it's a big, deep well that if you don't know all the right questions and all the right formulas and all the right strategies, you're going to find yourself giving more money to Uncle Sam than you really want. But there is hope. I love that. There is hope in Heather. I love that. So reach out
Absolutely.
to Johnny and see, have that conversation. New Heights Financial, newheights.life is his website. Get a copy of his book, read about it, have a conversation, and we'll dive in more into the next episode around this whole concept of how we can help you retire at New Heights. Heather, Johnny, thanks for another great episode. You two have a great day.
You too.
You too, Mike. Thanks.